A previous maintenance person at a workshop or facility creatively attached this custom-made PVC piece to a shop vac, a heavy-duty vacuum cleaner. The PVC addition has a screw on each side, allowing it to be adjusted or secured, and it is designed to move up and down. The current user of the shop vac cannot figure out the intended purpose or benefit of this modification. What is this DIY PVC attachment on the vacuum cleaner for? As astutely suggested by another individual working in the cleaning and maintenance field, this PVC attachment is highly likely to be a custom-made ergonomic handle and/or a convenient holder for the shop vac's power cord or a flexible suction hose. Maintenance personnel and workshop users often devise clever and practical modifications to their tools and equipment to address specific annoyances, improve usability, or enhance organization. In this case, the PVC piece, with its ability to move up and down and be securely fastened with screws, was probably designed by the previous maintenance guy to achieve one or more of the following: provide a more comfortable or strategically positioned carrying handle for maneuvering the often bulky shop vac, create a dedicated and secure place to neatly wrap the long power cord for storage or transport, preventing tangles, or function as a clip or guide to keep the vacuum hose organized and out of the way when the shop vac is being moved around the workspace or stored when not in use. It's a testament to practical, on-the-job ingenuity. These black, rubbery but very stiff bits are being repeatedly found in the laundry after wash cycles. They are described as being black with a slight bluish tint, and some of them exhibit a kind of parallel ridgework or texture on their surface. Their persistent appearance in clean laundry suggests they are being picked up on clothing from an external source. What could these resilient, rubbery fragments be? These black, rubbery bits are highly likely to be fragments of shredded or recycled car tire mulch, a material commonly used as a safety surfacing material in children's playgrounds and sometimes in landscaping. Recycled rubber mulch, made from end-of-life automotive tires that are ground or shredded into small pieces, is a popular choice for playground surfaces because it provides excellent impact attenuation, cushioning falls and reducing injury risk, is very durable, requires relatively low maintenance compared to organic mulches like wood chips, and allows for good drainage. If children in the household frequently play on a playground that utilizes this type of rubber mulch, it is very common for small pieces of the material to get into their shoes, pockets, cuffs of their pants, and hair. These fragments then inevitably end up in the laundry, surviving the wash cycle due to their robust rubber composition. The parallel ridgework mentioned could be remnants of the tire's original tread pattern or a texture created during the industrial shredding and granulation process. Small, paper-like squares were unexpectedly found to have fallen out from the pages of an old book. Their diminutive size, paper composition, and the context of their discovery, being hidden or perhaps long forgotten within the confines of a book, immediately raise questions about their true nature and potential contents. What are these tiny pieces of paper? These small, paper-like squares are identified with a high degree of certainty as acid tabs, which is a common slang term for blotter paper that has been impregnated or infused with LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. LSD is a potent semi-synthetic psychedelic drug known for its profound psychological effects, including altered thoughts, feelings, and awareness of one's surroundings. One of the most common and traditional methods for distributing LSD for individual dosage is by applying a liquid solution of the highly concentrated drug onto sheets of absorbent blotter paper. These sheets are often pre-perforated into numerous small squares, or tabs, each designed to hold and deliver a single measured dose. The blotter paper itself can be plain white or, frequently, decorated with various colorful designs, cartoon characters, or psychedelic artwork. Finding such tabs concealed within the pages of an old book suggests they were likely hidden there for clandestine storage or were simply forgotten by a previous owner over time. Discovered within the basement of a surgeon's home in a New York suburb, these peculiar items consist of plastic capsules, each containing small copper-colored cylinders that are distinctly marked Japan. They were found within a drawer that likely dates to the mid-20th century, alongside other miscellaneous detritus. The finder has, with prudent caution, refrained from opening these capsules due to concerns about potential contamination or the unknown nature of their contents. What are these tiny, meticulously encapsulated metal cylinders? These small, copper-colored cylinders, marked Japan, and housed within protective plastic capsules, are identified as pinfire cartridges, a type of early metallic firearm ammunition, likely intended for a miniature or micro firearm. The pinfire system, invented by Casimir Lefaucheux in the 1830s, was one of the first practical designs for self-contained metallic cartridges. A distinctive feature of a pinfire cartridge is a small pin that protrudes radially from the side of the cartridge base. When the firearm's hammer strikes this exposed pin, it drives the pin inward to detonate an internal percussion cap, thereby igniting the main powder charge. While the pinfire system was largely superseded by centerfire and rimfire cartridges for mainstream firearms by the latter part of the 19th century, it continued to be used in some very small, often novelty or vest pocket pistols, sometimes referred to as ladies' guns, personal protection devices, or miniature alarm guns, well into the 20th century. The Japan marking clearly indicates their country of origin, and their diminutive size is highly consistent with ammunition designed for such specialized miniature firearms. This very large, distinctively Dreidel-shaped, spinning top-shape object was observed being transported on a flatbed truck on Interstate 287 near New York City. It was estimated to be at least 12 to 15 feet in length and perhaps around 8 feet in height at its widest point, and it appeared to be constructed of heavy metal. Accompanying it on the transport were a number of large wooden boxes, presumably containing related components or accessories. Its unusual and massive shape strongly suggests a specialized industrial function. What could this colossal, uniquely shaped metal object be? This large, Dreidel-shaped metal object is identified as a significant and critical component part of a stone crushing machine, specifically a type known as a cone crusher. Cone crushers are heavy-duty industrial machines widely used in the mining, quarrying, and aggregate industries. Their primary function is to reduce the size of large, hard rocks and ore by compressing the material between a moving conical piece and a stationary concave bowl. The Dreidel shape described likely corresponds to either the mantle, the eccentrically rotating, wear-resistant conical crushing head, or the concave, the stationary outer bowl liner against which the material is crushed. These components are manufactured from extremely hard, abrasion-resistant manganese steel or similar alloys, because they are subjected to immense compressive forces and severe abrasive wear during the rock crushing process. The wooden boxes being transported with it would almost certainly contain other essential parts of the crusher assembly such as bearings, drive mechanisms, hydraulic adjustment systems, or spare wear liners, all destined for a new installation or a major overhaul of an existing crushing plant. Long sheets of a material that looks like metal are observed being draped extensively over the exterior of a building. The observer notes that this application doesn't appear to be a conventional art installation, nor does it resemble standard copper sheeting typically used for roofing or architectural detailing. This unusual and widespread application of metal sheeting over a building prompts the question, what is its intended purpose? This extensive draping of metal sheeting over a building is described by a local observer, privy to the situation, as just some dude's attempt to shield himself from 5G. I'm not kidding. The metal sheeting is being employed in an effort to create a rudimentary Faraday cage around the building. A Faraday cage is an enclosure that is constructed from conductive material or by a mesh of such material, which functions to block external static and non-static electromagnetic fields by causing the electrical charge to distribute itself around the cage's exterior, thereby canceling out the field's effect inside. The person who purchased the building is apparently, and according to the commenter, irrationally and without scientific basis, attempting to shield the structure and its occupants from the perceived harmful effects of 5G, fifth-generation, cellular network signals. While it is true that Faraday cages can effectively block radio waves, the overwhelming scientific consensus is that 5G signals, at the power levels used for public telecommunications, are not harmful to human health and operate within established safety guidelines. The commenter also makes the practical observation that the extensive metal sheeting is loud, likely due to wind causing it to rattle, vibrate, or resonate. Peculiar, blinking canisters were discovered underneath a hotel room bed in Amsterdam. Their electronic nature, clearly indicated by the blinking light, and their unusual and somewhat concealed placement beneath the bed, suggest a specific, possibly monitoring-related or pest control-oriented function. What are these enigmatic, blinking devices found in a hotel setting? These blinking canisters are suggested to be smart bed legs, specifically designed and marketed for the purpose of trapping and/or detecting the presence of bedbugs, Cimex lectularius. Some innovative pest control and hotel supply companies, such as Valpus, whose bed legs are mentioned as a similar example in the original solution, have developed these specialized bed legs. They often feature a design where bedbugs, which typically climb up bed legs from the floor to reach their sleeping human hosts, are intercepted. This might be by means of a smooth, inescapable inner rim or a sticky trap section within the leg into which the bedbugs fall or become stuck. The electronic component with the blinking light might indicate the device's operational status, a low battery warning, or, in more advanced versions, could even signal that a bedbug has been detected and trapped, possibly via a tiny integrated sensor, a camera, or by the bedbug completing an electrical circuit. Hotels sometimes utilize such proactive systems as an early warning mechanism and a preventative measure against bedbug infestations, aiming to detect and address problems before they escalate into a larger issue affecting guests. Children in Pensacola, Florida, have amusingly nicknamed these objects sea turds. They are found underwater on the bayside and are described as being round, soft, or spongy to the touch and dark green in color. Their consistent shape and somewhat unusual texture raise questions about their natural origin or whether they might be man-made. What are these marine formations? These objects are identified simply as mud balls. In coastal marine environments, particularly in bays, estuaries, or areas with fine-grained cohesive sediment, mud that has a consistency similar to Play-Doh, as described by the original commenter, chunks of this mud can break off from underwater banks, the seabed, or tidal flats, especially during periods of increased wave action, storms, or strong tidal currents. As these dislodged clumps of mud are rolled around on the bottom by the action of waves and currents, they gradually become abraded, compacted, and shaped into relatively uniform, rounded balls. Their color, in this case dark green, would depend on the specific mineral composition of the local sediment, which can include various clays, silts, and often a significant amount of organic matter, contributing to darker hues. While it's conceivable that pollutants like tar or oil could become incorporated into such formations if present in the environment, mud balls can also be entirely natural occurrences, formed purely from the physical action of water movement on cohesive sediment. Numerous small white and pink balls unexpectedly appeared, seemingly overnight, all over a residential lawn shortly after it was mowed. The homeowner is puzzled because they do not personally use any lawn care service. The white balls are described as being soft enough that a bit can be scraped off with a thumbnail, while the pink ones have a texture that feels almost like hard plastic. What are these mysterious colored pellets that have suddenly materialized and covered the lawn? These white and pink balls are highly likely to be fertilizer pellets. The commenter in the original thread astutely suggests that even if the homeowner themselves doesn't subscribe to a professional lawn care service, it's quite possible that a lawn treatment company made an error and inadvertently treated their lawn instead of a registered client's property nearby, a not entirely uncommon occurrence in suburban neighborhoods. Slow-release fertilizers, which are designed to provide a steady supply of nutrients to grass over an extended period, are very often manufactured and sold in a pelletized or granular form. These pellets can come in a wide variety of colors, including white, pink, blue, green, or brown, depending on the specific chemical formulation, the manufacturer, and any added coatings. The different textures observed by the finder, one type being somewhat scrappable, the other feeling more like hard plastic, could be due to variations in the inert filler materials, the type of nutrient compounds, or the specific coatings used on the pellets, which are often designed to control the rate at which the nutrients dissolve and are released into the soil. It's also possible a mixed fertilizer product containing different types of pellets was applied. A man was observed behaving somewhat furtively while rushing along a hiking trail and also along a nearby roadside in upstate New York. His activity involved leaving little piles of white powder at intervals along his route. He was clearly not a park official or maintenance worker and seemed to be actively trying to avoid contact or interaction with the observers. This suspicious behavior, combined with the deliberate placement of the white powder, raises questions about his actions and the nature of the substance. What could this white powder be, and what was its intended purpose? This white powder is identified as likely being simple, ordinary flour, used as a temporary and biodegradable trail marker by members of a running club, most notably a group that participates in an activity known as hashing, such as the Hash House Harriers. Hashing is a global, non-competitive group running and social activity that combines elements of cross-country running with the fun of a traditional paper chase or scavenger hunt. One or more runners, designated as the hares, are responsible for laying a trail using various markings, traditionally including chalk, flour, shredded paper, or sometimes sawdust, for the rest of the group, known as the hounds or pack, to follow. The somewhat secretive or evasive behavior of the person laying the trail, the hare, is also a characteristic and often humorous part of some hashing traditions, adding to the chase element of the event. Flour is a common and environmentally friendly choice for marking trails in natural areas, as it eventually washes away or biodegrades without causing lasting impact. While engaged in clearing out some side garden beds that were situated adjacent to a house, a metal stake or bar was discovered driven deep into the ground. A substantial wire is securely attached to this stake and then appears to run further into the ground or towards the house. The stake itself is buried more than a foot deep and is estimated to be approximately 8 feet long in total. What is this buried metal stake and its associated wire, which is clearly part of an important and permanent utility installation for the house? This buried metal stake and wire assembly is identified as a crucial component of the house's electrical service grounding system. Specifically, it is a copper ground wire connected to a grounding rod, the stake. The metal rod, typically 8 feet or more in length and made of copper-clad steel or solid copper for excellent conductivity and corrosion resistance, is driven deep into the earth to establish a good electrical connection with the ground. The braided wire, also typically made of copper, is the grounding electrode conductor. This conductor runs from the grounding rod, to which it is securely and permanently clamped, and then connects to the main electrical service panel or breaker box located inside the house. The entire grounding system serves a vital safety function. It provides a low impedance, low resistance path for electrical fault currents, such as those from short circuits, overloaded circuits, or equipment malfunctions, or dangerous surges from lightning strikes, to dissipate safely into the earth. This protects the home's electrical wiring, connected appliances, and, most importantly, its occupants from the severe risks of electrical shock and fire hazards. An individual placed an online order for mulch, but, in a perplexing mix-up, instead received a shipment containing 3 large and heavy rolls of a ribbon-like material. This material is described as having a texture somewhat similar to corn husk. The seller of the mulch has denied that this unexpected material originated from their company. The box containing these rolls is quite substantial, weighing between 50 and 80 pounds. The material itself exhibits high strength when pulled parallel to its length, good tensile strength, but can be pulled apart relatively easily when force is applied horizontally across its width. It almost appears to be composed of individual strong strings held together by some kind of sticky or bonding substance, yet neither side of the material itself is adhesive like conventional tape. What is this unusual, strong, fibrous material that arrived in error? This material is identified as strapping tape, also commonly known as filament tape or banding. It is a heavy-duty type of tape specifically engineered for demanding packaging applications, such as securely closing and reinforcing heavy corrugated cardboard cartons, bundling multiple items together for shipping or storage, or securing lids on crates and pallets. This type of specialized tape typically consists of very strong reinforcing filaments, often made from fiberglass, polyester, or polypropylene strings, which are embedded longitudinally within a pressure-sensitive adhesive matrix and backed by a durable film, commonly polypropylene or polyester. The exceptional tensile strength of the tape comes from these robust longitudinal filaments. Its relative ease of tearing horizontally across the filaments can be a characteristic if the backing material is not equally strong in that direction, or if it's specifically designed to be hand-tearable for some applications without needing a cutting tool. The sticky substance mentioned as holding the strings together is, in fact, the adhesive matrix of the tape itself. When used for bundling or very heavy-duty applications, the ends of such strapping are often joined and tensioned using metal crimp fasteners, buckles, or heat-sealing equipment, rather than relying solely on the tape's own adhesive for ultimate closure strength. The county park located near the observer's residence was recently renovated, and as part of these public improvements, this thing, a tall, somewhat unusual structure, was erected. It is described as being super tall, standing at least 12 feet high. The initial thought of the observer was that it might be a pole supporting security cameras, but upon closer inspection, no camera lenses were visible. The structure is situated in a wide open field within the park, leading to another speculation that it might be related to weather monitoring equipment. The observer remains very curious to determine its actual purpose. What is this tall, multi-component structure in the park? This tall structure is identified as a set of purple martin gourd nesting boxes or a purple martin house. Purple martins, Progne subis, are North America's largest species of swallow. They are colonial nesting birds, meaning they prefer to nest in groups, and in many parts of their range, particularly in eastern North America, they have become almost entirely dependent on artificial housing provided by humans. This is because their natural nesting cavities, such as old woodpecker holes in dead trees, have become increasingly scarce due to habitat changes. Historically, Native Americans hung hollowed-out natural gourds to attract these beneficial birds. Modern purple martin houses often consist of multiple individual compartments arranged in a multi-story structure, or, as in this case, a collection of artificial replica plastic gourds all mounted on a tall pole. The height, typically 10 to 20 feet, and the placement in an open location, away from tall trees or buildings, are crucial for attracting purple martins, as they prefer unobstructed flight paths to and from their nests. These birds are highly valued for their voracious appetite for flying insects, including mosquitoes and other pests, making them welcome residents in many communities and parks. Discovered discarded on the side of the road, this black, distinctively wavy wire display type object was initially mistaken by the finder for a wine rack. However, upon attempting to place standard wine bottles onto it, they discovered that the bottles didn't sit securely, and in fact, looked as though they were precariously balanced and on the verge of falling. This clear instability and poor fit for wine bottles strongly suggests that its intended purpose was for holding items of a different size and shape. What is this wire rack actually designed to hold? This black, wavy wire rack is identified as an old CD, compact disc rack. In the decades preceding the widespread adoption of digital music streaming services and downloadable music files, physical CD collections were extremely common, and a vast array of storage racks, towers, and cabinets were designed and marketed to hold them. These CD racks often featured slots, individual compartments, or wavy wire designs like this one, which were specifically sized and shaped to accommodate standard CD jewel cases, the clear plastic hinged boxes that CDs were sold in. Such designs allowed CDs to be stored upright, typically with their spines facing outwards, making it easy for users to browse their music collection and select a disc. Wine bottles, being significantly larger, heavier, rounder, and having a different center of gravity than thin, square CD cases, would not fit properly or securely in a rack designed for CDs. This explains the instability and poor fit observed by the finder when attempting to use it as a wine rack. This small metal piece is an integral part of a newly assembled MasterChef 5-burner BBQ grill. The finder has diligently consulted the assembly manual and noticed that this particular component is clearly shown in all the illustrative images. However, perplexingly, it is never directly referenced by name or part number, nor is its installation or use mentioned in any of the assembly steps. Inquiries made to several other people have also failed to shed light on its purpose. What is this enigmatic, seemingly undocumented metal piece on the new BBQ grill? This small metal piece, often found attached by a short chain or a thin wire to the side panel or frame of a gas BBQ grill, is a matchstick holder. Its specific and rather important purpose is to provide a safe and convenient way to manually light the grill's burners in the event that the primary electronic ignition system, the push button or rotary igniter, fails to operate or is not working correctly for any reason. To use it, one would typically place a lit match, preferably a long kitchen match, into the looped C-shaped or forked end of the metal holder. This holder then extends the reach of the lit match, allowing the user to safely insert it through the grill grates and down towards the gas burner that needs to be ignited without risking burned fingers from the flame or a sudden flare-up of gas. It's a simple but essential backup lighting feature included on many gas grills to ensure you can always get your barbecue started. A strange aperture, measuring approximately 1 inch in diameter, has been discovered in a raised garden bed. The entrance to this hole is conspicuously surrounded by a collar or turret made of hardened mud, giving it a distinctive appearance. A banana is provided in the accompanying image for scale, indicating the relative size of the structure. What creature or natural process is responsible for creating this unique, muddy opening in the garden? This distinctive structure is identified as a burrowing crayfish chimney. Certain species of freshwater crayfish, also commonly known as crawfish or crawdads, are semi-terrestrial and are adapted to excavate extensive and often complex burrows in moist soil. While they are often found near permanent water sources like streams, ponds, or swamps, some species can also establish burrows in lawns, garden beds, or fields if the water table is sufficiently high to keep their burrows moist. As these crayfish dig their burrows, they meticulously push the excavated mud and soil pellets up to the surface around the entrance of the burrow. This accumulated material typically forms a distinctive volcano-like mound or a cylindrical chimney composed of hardened mud pellets. These chimneys can vary considerably in height and shape depending on the crayfish species and local soil conditions, but their presence is a clear and unmistakable sign of active crayfish habitation. The hole itself is the entrance to their underground tunnel system, which can extend several feet deep to reach groundwater. This small yet relatively heavy object, prominently bearing the iconic Shell Oil Company logo, was found in the sand on a beach in Dakar, Senegal. Its precise original nature is unclear, but its distinct branding is the most salient feature for identification. What was this Shell-logoed item originally? According to the finder's father, who is described as a dedicated collector of Shell Oil Company memorabilia, this item is guaranteed to be the decorative fob or emblem from a broken keyring. He explains that there should ideally be a small hole, loop, or attachment point, perhaps on the top edge of the Shell emblem, where the metal ring component of the keyring would originally have been attached. Keyrings featuring well-known corporate logos, such as the distinctive Shell Pectin, were, and indeed still are, very common promotional items, customer giveaways, or souvenirs sold at service stations or by the company. Over time, especially if lost and subjected to the harsh, corrosive environment of a sandy beach with saltwater exposure, the less robust metal ring part could easily break off, corrode away completely, or become detached, leaving only the more durable decorative fob or emblem, like the one found, as a remnant. This plastic object, measuring approximately 12 inches in length, is observed hanging from the ceiling in a garage. The initial photograph provided in the query only shows a portion of it, making a definitive identification difficult based on that limited view. A helpful commenter suggests that the finder should slide the object out of its holder if possible to take additional pictures that show the entire item, as it currently resembles accordion folded paper contained within some kind of frame or casing. What could this garage ceiling mounted, paper-filled object be? Without having the benefit of seeing the full object or more detailed images, a precise identification remains challenging. However, the description of accordion folded paper in some kind of frame, especially considering its approximate 12-inch length and its somewhat unusual location hanging from a garage ceiling, could point to a few possibilities. If it's an older item, it might be an old-style pull-down paper shop towel dispenser, where the accordion-folded paper towels are housed in a metal or plastic casing. Alternatively, if the paper is more decorative, it could potentially be a type of collapsible paper lantern or a festive paper decoration, though its utilitarian garage location makes this less likely unless it's simply being stored there out of season. If the frame is more robust and the paper is a filter medium, it could even be a component from an antique bellows. If the paper is more like treated fabric or leather, or less likely given paper, a part of a very old air filter system for a workshop. More detailed images showing the entire object and its construction would be crucial for a more confident identification. A small plastic tube, which is filled with an orangish-looking liquid and sealed with an orange-colored stopper or end cap, was unexpectedly found in a living room. Its origin is unknown, and preliminary online searches for a matching item have been unsuccessful in yielding a clear identification. What is this small, liquid-filled plastic tube with a distinctive stopper? This small plastic tube containing a colored liquid and featuring a stopper is identified as a fountain pen ink cartridge. Fountain pens, unlike ballpoint or rollerball pens, use liquid ink, which is often supplied in these convenient, disposable plastic cartridges. The cartridge is designed to be inserted into the section or barrel of the fountain pen. A mechanism within the pen then pierces the seal of the cartridge, which is often a small plastic ball or a thin membrane located at the end of the cartridge that connects to the pen's feed system, rather than the visible stopper, which might be the removable end cap or part of the packaging. Once pierced, the ink flows from the cartridge through the pen's feed to the nib, allowing the user to write. Fountain pen ink cartridges come in a wide variety of colors, including various shades of orange, red, brown, blue, black, and many others. They are a common and practical way to refill fountain pens without the mess of bottled ink. Located in the basement of a Midwestern house originally constructed in the early 1900s, this substantial round structure is made entirely of concrete. The previous seller of the house was also unaware of its specific historical purpose, adding to the mystery. Given its considerable age, robust concrete material, and subterranean basement location, what was this large basin originally designed to hold or facilitate within the household? This large, round concrete structure found in the basement is identified as a cistern. In the era before reliable and widespread municipal water supply systems became a standard feature in many towns and rural areas, or in locations that were simply not yet connected to such services, cisterns were commonly constructed as an essential part of a home's infrastructure. Their primary purpose was to collect and store rainwater, which was typically harvested from the surface of the house's roof via a network of gutters and downspouts that directed the water into the underground or basement-level tank. This stored water could then be utilized for a variety of household needs, such as laundry, cleaning, flushing toilets, watering gardens, or even, after appropriate settling and perhaps rudimentary filtration, for drinking and cooking. Locating cisterns in basements was a common practice as it provided a cool, protected environment that helped maintain water quality, and it also allowed for a degree of gravity-fed water distribution to lower parts of the house or yard. Many older houses still have these disused cisterns present, often sealed off or simply forgotten. This plastic device, described as being just a couple of inches in length, is observed to be connected to a kitchen sink's plumbing or faucet assembly. Significantly, it is also wired to an external battery pack, indicating it's an electronic component requiring its own power source. Its small size and dedicated battery power suggest it functions as an electronic control module for a specific, advanced faucet feature. What is this device, and what modern convenience does it enable? This plastic device connected to the kitchen sink and an external battery pack is identified as the electronic touch controller module for a touch-activated or tap-on, tap-off kitchen faucet. Many contemporary kitchen faucets now incorporate sophisticated touch technology, which allows the user to turn the water flow on or off simply by making brief physical contact with almost any part of the faucet spout or handle, rather than needing to manipulate a traditional lever or knob. This electronic control module is the brain of such a system. It houses the capacitive touch sensor technology that detects the user's touch and the solenoid valve that electronically controls the water flow. It requires a low-voltage power source to operate, which is often supplied by a dedicated battery pack, typically using standard AA or C-cell batteries located discreetly under the sink. This battery-powered option is particularly common in retrofit installations or where a dedicated switched electrical outlet isn't conveniently available directly beneath the sink for the faucet's electronics. Seen perched on a mountain in the scenic region of Tyrol, Austria, this substantial installation features a prominent metal door that is attached to a thick, well-like structure made of plastic or a similar robust, non-corrosive material. A vent is clearly visible on its top surface, and the distinct sound of air rushing behind the secure door can be heard quite loudly by observers. What is this mountain-sided vented structure with a sturdy access door, likely designed for holding a significant volume of some substance? This mountainside structure is identified as a water reservoir. Such reservoirs serve critical functions in alpine environments. It could be used for storing potable tap water for a local community, a remote hotel, or a mountain refuge, ensuring a consistent supply despite the challenging terrain. Alternatively, and very commonly in ski regions like Tyrol, it might be a dedicated reservoir for supplying water to extensive artificial snowmaking systems that are essential for maintaining ski slopes during the winter season. The robust construction, often using reinforced concrete or thick plastic liners, along with a secure access door and a ventilation system, the vent on top, are characteristic features of these engineered water storage facilities. The vent is necessary to manage air pressure changes as water levels within the reservoir fluctuate due to filling or draining. The sound of rushing air could be related to this ventilation system, the operation of pumps, or the rapid movement of water within the pipes connected to the reservoir. A dog in the house managed to find this flat, green, wax-like substance. When pieced back together, it would be about 5 inches long. It is described as having no discernible smell and being very bendable and soft to the touch. Its thickness and the nature of its edges make it seem unlikely to be a puddle of melted candle wax. The dog may have ingested a small amount, raising concerns for the owner. What is this odorless, pliable green wax? This flat, green, pliable wax is identified as most likely being cheese wax. Many types of cheese, particularly hard and semi-hard varieties such as cheddar, Gouda, or Edam, are traditionally coated in a thin layer of food-grade paraffin or microcrystalline wax. This waxy coating serves several important purposes. It protects the cheese from physical damage, prevents the growth of unwanted mold on its surface, helps to retain moisture within the cheese, preventing it from drying out, and can extend its overall shelf life during aging and storage. This wax is typically quite pliable and relatively soft at room temperature, allowing it to be easily peeled or cut away before consuming the cheese. Green wax is a common color used for certain types of cheese, for instance, some Irish cheddars, Sage Derby, or other specialty cheeses, often for branding or aesthetic appeal. The lack of a strong artificial scent, unlike many scented candles, and its described soft, bendable texture are highly consistent with the properties of cheese wax. It's quite plausible that a piece of cheese was unwrapped in the house and a portion of the wax rind was accidentally dropped or discarded where the dog could find it. Located on the ceiling, referred to as roof in the original post, likely meaning the room's ceiling, of a room within a psychiatric facility, positioned near other standard ceiling fixtures like smoke detectors, is this black square object featuring a small hole in its middle. The specific context of its installation within a psychiatric facility is a crucial clue to understanding its specialized design and purpose. Is it a covert security camera, or does it serve a different, safety-oriented function? This black square fixture with a central hole is identified as an anti-ligature sprinkler head. In specialized environments such as psychiatric facilities, correctional institutions, hospitals, particularly in mental health or secure wards, and other care settings where patient or inmate safety from self-harm is a paramount concern, all fixtures and fittings are carefully designed to minimize or eliminate potential ligature points. A ligature point is any object or feature from which a cord, rope, strip of cloth, or similar item could be tied or looped to facilitate an act of hanging or strangulation. Anti-ligature sprinkler heads are specifically engineered to be recessed into the ceiling or mounted flush with its surface. They have a smooth, tamper-resistant profile without any protruding parts, sharp edges, or gaps that could be used as an attachment point. This design makes it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to attach anything to them for self-harm purposes, while still allowing them to function effectively as fire suppression sprinklers in the event of a fire emergency. This unusual item is a metal overshoe that features leather straps for securing it. There is no visible writing, branding, or stamps on it to indicate its manufacturer or specific model. Its robust metal construction and secure strapping system strongly suggest it's designed for a specific demanding activity, most likely a sport involving sliding or abrasion. What is this specialized piece of protective footwear? This metal overshoe with leather straps is definitively identified as a flat-track motorcycle racing shoe, more commonly referred to in the sport as a steel shoe or hot shoe. In the thrilling and highly specialized motorsport of flat track racing, riders navigate oval dirt or clay tracks at high speeds, characteristically sliding their motorcycles sideways through the corners. To aid in balance, control the slide, and steer the motorcycle, riders on counterclockwise ovals extend their left foot and drag it along the track surface. This steel shoe is specifically designed to be worn over the rider's regular leather racing boot on the inside, left foot. It provides an extremely durable, low-friction surface that can slide smoothly and predictably across the abrasive dirt or clay track without catching, digging in, or rapidly wearing out the underlying boot. This distinctive riding technique is a hallmark of flat track racing, and these specialized steel shoes are absolutely essential pieces of safety and performance equipment for competitors in this discipline. The design described could well date back to the 1960s or a similar vintage era of the sport. These distinctive spiked metal hoops are sometimes observed affixed to the exterior corners of old buildings, typically positioned low down and often next to doorways or in alleyways. The finder has long assumed, perhaps logically, that their purpose was to deter muggers or other nefarious individuals from hiding in these shadowy corners at night to ambush people as they enter or leave the buildings. What is the actual historical purpose of these architectural features, sometimes known by colloquial names like pisot? These spiked metal hoops, known in some European regions, particularly Venice, by colloquial names such as pisot or pissabraga, are indeed primarily anti-urination corner guards, though they also served a valuable secondary purpose related to security and public order. Their main historical function was to deter people from urinating in the corners of buildings, a practice that was a common and unsanitary nuisance in densely populated cities for centuries, especially before the widespread availability of public restroom facilities. The presence of the spikes, or simply the awkward projecting shape of the hoop, made it uncomfortable or physically impossible for someone to stand close enough to the corner to relieve themselves there. Additionally, as the finder correctly surmised, these guards also had the beneficial effect of preventing criminals, vagrants, or muggers from easily concealing themselves in dark, recessed corners, from which they could then ambush unsuspecting passers-by. In some instances, instead of metal hoops, similarly shaped semicircular inclined stone or concrete castings were built into the corners to achieve the same dual deterrent functions of promoting hygiene and enhancing public safety. Discovered in the attic of a school, this large antique machine likely dates from the early 1900s, a period when the school building also served as a convent. The machine is constructed from a combination of wood and iron, and features a prominent, large spinning barrel that appears to be equipped with some kind of teeth, tines, or spikes. Given its age, substantial size, and institutional context, school and convent, what was this robust mechanical device originally used for? This device is identified as a hair picker, also known as a fiber picker or a teasing machine. Machines of this type were commonly used in the late 19th and early 20th centuries in the textile industry, as well as in upholstery workshops, mattress-making factories, and large institutions that maintained their own bedding and furnishings. Their primary function was to process raw, often matted or compressed, fibers such as horsehair, a very common upholstery stuffing of the era, cotton, wool, flax, or other natural stuffing materials. The rapidly spinning barrel, which was equipped with numerous sharp teeth, spikes, or tines, would vigorously agitate, tear apart, and separate the entangled and matted fibers. This process served to fluff them up, remove dust and impurities, and make the fibers more voluminous, resilient, and suitable for use as padding or stuffing in mattresses, pillows, cushions, or upholstered furniture. In a convent or institutional setting, like a school in the early 1900s, such a machine might have been used for producing or regularly refurbishing bedding and furniture for the residents, or potentially for producing textile goods for sale or charitable distribution. This fairly small, hard rubber ring was unexpectedly found in a car. It is distinguished by markings indicating 50 dBs and 60 B with arrows, presumably on opposite sides, or indicating different resistance points. The car has been in the current owner's possession for 7 years, and this is a new and puzzling discovery. What is this calibrated rubber ring, clearly designed for some kind of exertion? This hard rubber ring, featuring specific weight markings, 50 B and 60 B, is identified as a hand grip strengthener. These simple yet effective exercise devices are designed to help individuals improve their hand, wrist, and forearm strength, as well as their overall grip endurance. The user squeezes the ring, attempting to compress it against its inherent resistance. The poundage markings, e.g. 50 lb or 60 kb, typically indicate the approximate amount of force required to fully compress the ring, or they may represent different resistance levels if the ring has varying thicknesses or densities. This allows users to select a resistance appropriate for their current strength level and to track their progress over time as their grip becomes stronger. Hand grip strengtheners are popular among athletes, climbers, weightlifters, martial artists, musicians, guitarists, pianists, individuals undergoing rehabilitation for hand injuries, or anyone simply looking to enhance their grip strength for everyday tasks. Its discovery in a car suggests it might have been used during commutes as a form of passive exercise, or perhaps it was simply stored there and forgotten. Observed ubiquitously throughout Seoul metro stations in South Korea, these distinctive platforms are a common sight for commuters. They are characterized by a surface covered with thousands of small, yielding balls. When a person steps onto these platforms, the balls are designed to depress or push down under the pressure of their shoes. What is the specific purpose of these unusual, ball-covered platforms found in high-traffic public transit areas? These platforms are identified as specialized mats designed to remove fine dust, dirt, and even potentially viruses and bacteria from the soles of shoes. They were installed in public locations such as the Seoul Forest subway station and other transit hubs as a significant public health and environmental measure. This initiative was particularly responsive to concerns about urban air quality, specifically the prevalence of fine particulate dust pollution, often referred to as PM 2.5, and also aimed at reducing the spread of airborne or contact-transmissible pathogens in high-density public spaces. As people walk across the mat, the multitude of small, flexible balls, or sometimes bristles, agitate the shoe soles, effectively dislodging and capturing fine dust particles, dirt, and other debris. Some more advanced versions of these mats may also incorporate an underlying adhesive layer to trap the dislodged particles, or even a system for dispensing a sanitizing agent to further enhance their hygienic function. It represents an innovative approach to improving public cleanliness and health in busy urban environments. Discovered under a tree at a bus stop, this small plastic object is described as being light gold and red in color and featuring blue, diamond-shaped decorative elements. It also has a gray button on its side, which is connected to a spring mechanism inside. Attempts to identify it using Google searches were unsuccessful. What is this small, colorful plastic piece with an integrated spring-loaded button, likely lost by a child? This small, colorful plastic item with specific design elements and a spring-loaded button mechanism is identified as looking like a component part from a Power Rangers toy. The Power Rangers franchise, popular for decades, has spawned a vast array of toys, including action figures, vehicles, roleplay weapons, like swords or blasters, and morphers, the iconic devices the characters use to transform into their Power Ranger forms. Many of these toys feature small, detachable accessories, weapons, power-up keys, or activators that often incorporate bright colors, like gold, red, and blue, intricate designs, such as the described blue diamonds, and interactive spring-loaded button features. These buttons might be used for launching small projectiles, activating sound effects, triggering light-up features, or initiating a transformation sequence in the main toy. Its discovery at a public bus stop strongly suggests it was accidentally dropped and lost by a child during their travels or while waiting for a bus. This small, palm-sized, metallic rod-like object was unearthed while an individual was digging around their house. The finder is completely at a loss as to its identity, stating they can't even begin to identify what to Google to find out what it is. Its specific shape and any distinguishing features of the metal are not fully detailed in this snippet, but its metallic nature and relatively small handheld size are the key descriptors. This item is identified, perhaps surprisingly, as a film prop that had apparently been the subject of a previous identification request on Reddit not long before this particular query was posted. Without access to the visual information from either the current or the previous post, its exact nature as a prop remains unknown. Film props, by their very definition, can encompass an incredibly wide range of objects. They can be meticulously crafted replicas of real-world items, like historical weapons or everyday objects from a specific period, entirely fantastical futuristic gadgets or alien artifacts, or even seemingly nondescript items that are designed to look like something specific only within the narrative context of a movie, television show, or theatrical production. Props are often made from various materials, including metal, to achieve a desired visual appearance, weight, or durability for filming. The fact that it's designated as a prop implies that its apparent function or identity might be purely fictional and tied to a specific cinematic or theatrical creation. This wooden pole-shaped box, featuring divots and screws, is found installed next to what is described as a scoring pattern on a public bike trail. Its deliberate placement and somewhat technical appearance suggest it's a piece of monitoring or data collection equipment. What is this trailside installation? This wooden pole-shaped box is identified as a people counter, very likely an EcoVisio Multi-Evo nature counter, or a similar model from another manufacturer specializing in pedestrian and cyclist monitoring systems. These autonomous devices are commonly used by park authorities, trail managers, and urban planners to anonymously count the number of individuals, pedestrians, cyclists, sometimes equestrians, passing along a specific trail, path, or public way. They often employ technologies such as passive infrared, PIR sensors, active infrared beams that are broken by passers-by, or sometimes pressure plates or inductive loops, though the wooden box suggests sensor-based tech. The data collected is invaluable for understanding trail usage patterns, planning maintenance schedules, justifying funding for improvements, and assessing the impact of recreational activities. The divots might be sensor apertures or access points, and the slot mentioned in the solution, the slot above the laser emitter is to run a magnet across to wake up the system to download data, indicates a method for service personnel to activate the device for data retrieval, often done wirelessly or via a direct port connection. The scoring pattern nearby is likely unrelated or could be pre-existing survey marks or calibration points. Discovered buried approximately 1.5 feet deep within an overgrown section of a residential property on Long Island, New York, this object was found very close to the bay. It is described as being non-magnetic and appears to be made of brass. The neighborhood itself dates back to 1907, hinting at the potential age of the item. The finder reasonably suspects it's something related to boat rigging or marine hardware. What is this durable, non-ferrous marine artifact? This brass, non-magnetic object is definitively identified as a rowboat oar lock, also commonly spelled as oarlock, or historically, rowlock. An oarlock is a crucial piece of hardware for any traditional rowboat. It is typically a U-shaped or circular device, traditionally made from robust, corrosion-resistant metals like brass or bronze, or sometimes galvanized iron or steel for more utilitarian vessels. It is designed to be mounted on the gunwale, the top edge of the side, of a rowboat. The oarlock serves as the fulcrum or pivot point for an oar, securely holding the oar in place while allowing it to swing freely as the rower performs the rowing stroke. This leverage against the oarlock enables the rower to efficiently transfer their power to the oar and propel the boat through the water. Its discovery buried near the bay in an older, established neighborhood, like those on Long Island, with a history dating back to the early 20th century, is highly consistent with its use on traditional wooden rowboats, which were a common sight in such coastal communities for fishing, recreation, and transport. This 24-inch long lump of hardened, tan-colored material was unearthed in Lebanon, New Jersey. At first glance, its appearance suggested it might be a melted plastic basket or some other kind of woven plastic item that had somehow fused together. However, it produces a distinctive clank when struck, a sound more akin to tapping on a terracotta planter than the dull thwack expected from most plastics. The land where it was found was farmland until approximately 30 years ago, after which it became a large residential yard that included areas for keeping animals, establishing gardens, and having fire pits. The lump appears to have been cut at some point, revealing a cross-section, which makes the finder think it might have been someone's experiment. What is this strange, hardened, somewhat resonant material? This lump of hardened tan material is identified as looking like the characteristic waste product, often referred to in the plastics industry as a purging, or cold slug, that is generated when flushing out an injection molding machine. Injection molding is a manufacturing process where molten plastic material is injected under high pressure into a mold cavity to create plastic parts. Between production runs of different plastic types, different colors of the same plastic, or during machine startup and shutdown procedures, the heated barrel and nozzle of the injection molding machine must be thoroughly purged of the previous material to prevent contamination or blockages. This purging process results in a significant blob or lump of extruded, rapidly cooled, and hardened plastic. These purgings often have a somewhat layered or internally mixed appearance, reflecting the transition between materials, and can be quite dense and hard, potentially explaining the clank sound if the material is a filled or reinforced type of plastic. Finding such an item suggests there might have been a small-scale plastics manufacturing or molding operation nearby in the past, or it was simply discarded as industrial waste. This antique wooden box, measuring approximately 1 foot in length, bears the intriguing inscription, "What shall I smoke?" on its surface. It features 6 independently moving levers and a series of spinning dice wheels, small cylinders with standard dice markings from 1 to 6 visible through small windows. When a wooden bar protruding from the end of the box is pushed or pulled, these cylinders are set into motion, spinning for a short period before coming to rest at random positions. Furthermore, there are small pegs on the front of the box that can be pulled out, an action which seems to disengage the corresponding wheel from spinning. The box carries no discernible maker's marks, aside from 2 patent stamps on the front, Pat Sep 2, 1890, and Pat Apield 4. What is this fascinating late 19th century mechanical game or vending device? This intriguing wooden box is identified as a version of a bar-top trade stimulator, a type of mechanical amusement device that was extremely popular in bars, saloons, cigar stores, and general shops from the late 19th century through the mid-20th century. Trade stimulators were typically coin-operated, although some, like possibly this one, could be manually operated. They offered patrons the chance to win small prizes, most commonly merchandise such as cigars, cigarettes, chewing tobacco, drinks, or trade tokens redeemable for goods by playing a simple game of chance. This particular machine, with its spinning dice wheels, the suggestive question, "What shall I smoke?" and its operational mechanics, was almost certainly used either to randomly select a brand or type of tobacco product for the customer to purchase, or to determine if they won a free tobacco product based on the outcome of the dice spin. The patent date of September 6, 1890, firmly places its design and likely manufacture within the heyday of these charming and often beautifully crafted countertop gambling devices. A rather unusual sight was observed on the highway. A truck with an object attached to its underside that bore a striking resemblance to a common metal bucket. The placement and nature of this bucket were perplexing. What is this bucket-like item doing underneath a truck, and what conceivable purpose could it serve? With a significant dose of humor, Lum Fao, laughing my censored word off, This bucket is identified by a commenter as being humorously and very unconventionally used as an exhaust tip for the truck. While certainly not a standard or approved automotive part for such a purpose, some truck owners, particularly those inclined towards highly customized rat rod or deliberately eccentric vehicle modifications, might engage in such creative, and often questionable from a safety or performance perspective, repurposing of common objects. In this instance, it appears the owner has likely taken a standard metal bucket, probably cut a hole in its base to fit over the existing exhaust pipe, and then somehow attached it to the end of the truck's exhaust system. This modification would primarily be for purely aesthetic reasons, to achieve a unique, eye-catching, or deliberately crude look, or perhaps in a misguided attempt to alter the exhaust sound. It would offer no functional performance enhancement and might even be illegal in some jurisdictions due to safety or emissions concerns. These tiny, multicolored cubes were found scattered on the pavement of a street during a walk. Their small size, approximately 1 centimeter per side, distinct cubic shape, and variety of bright colors are their most notable characteristics. Their presence on a public street seems out of place and suggests they were accidentally dropped or lost. What are these little cubes, and what are they typically used for? A teacher familiar with educational manipulatives identifies these with a fair degree of certainty as centimeter cubes. These are a very common and versatile manipulative tool widely used in elementary and primary school classrooms for teaching a broad range of mathematical concepts. These cubes typically measure exactly 1 centimeter on each edge, giving them a volume of 1 cubic centimeter and a weight of 1 gram if made of standard plastic, and are produced in a variety of bright, engaging colors. They are used by educators to help young children learn foundational mathematical ideas such as counting, sorting, patterning, basic arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division through grouping, measurement of length, area, and volume, understanding place value, exploring geometric shapes, and developing spatial reasoning skills. It is quite plausible that a student or teacher accidentally dropped some of these cubes from a bag or container, or that a classroom set spilled, leading to them being found scattered in the street. This brass object is described as weighing approximately 5 pounds, indicating a substantial piece. Its rear handle portion is designed to swing open, and a ring located inside the handle can also be pulled back, suggesting a complex mechanical action. Its overall appearance strikes the finder as being almost like some type of weapon, but its specific nature and origin are unclear. What is this heavy, mechanically intricate brass item? This object is excitingly and definitively identified as a prop replica of Gaines' dart gun from the classic and highly influential adventure video game Riven, the sequel to Myst. The commenter expresses considerable surprise at the find, holy crap, and inquires about its acquisition. Riven, originally released in 1997, is renowned for its stunningly detailed pre-rendered graphics, immersive atmosphere, and incredibly intricate, often mechanical puzzles, all set within a unique steampunk-inspired aesthetic. Gain, one of the game's primary antagonists and a complex character, uses a very distinctive and memorable dart gun within the game's narrative. The description of the robust brass construction, the swinging handle mechanism, and the internal ring component perfectly matches the detailed visual design of this iconic in-game weapon. Finding a well-made physical prop replica of such a specific and recognizable item from a beloved and culturally significant video game is a rare and notable discovery, especially for dedicated fans of the Myst series. A silver-colored metal object was discovered partially buried in the yard of a newly acquired home. Its shape is somewhat reminiscent of a Christmas bauble ornament, but it is distinguished by a rust-covered ring that is part of its construction. The number 304 is present on the object. Its weight is currently unknown. What could this metallic, somewhat spherical object with an attached ring be, especially considering its outdoor location? This silver-colored metal object is suggested to be a component of a tie-out stake or a clip used for temporarily chaining a dog outside. These devices typically consist of a spiral stake that is designed to be screwed firmly into the ground, or sometimes a heavy, weighted base for use on hard surfaces. Attached to this stake or base is a swiveling ring or a heavy-duty clip, the dog's leash or tie-out chain, is then fastened to this swiveling ring or clip. This arrangement allows the dog some freedom of movement within a defined radius while ensuring it remains safely confined to the yard and preventing it from roaming freely. The bauble ornament shape might refer to a rounded top of the stake or a smooth spherical swivel mechanism designed to prevent the chain from tangling. The rust-covered ring would be the crucial part where the chain or leash connects. The number 304 could potentially be a part number, a batch code, or if the object is made of stainless steel, it might relate to the grade of stainless steel used, e.g. 304 stainless steel is a common corrosion-resistant grade, though the presence of rust makes this less certain unless only the ring is rusted. In an older neighborhood in upstate New York, a curious architectural feature is observed. A few of the houses have one or two low concrete steps situated in the public right-of-way, specifically between the sidewalk and the curb. A father-in-law of the observer suggests that these steps were historically used for stepping up into horse-drawn carriages. However, the finder questions this explanation, recalling that carriages often had their own built-in steps. A toddler is shown in an accompanying photograph for size reference, indicating the steps are quite low. What is the true purpose of these short, isolated concrete curb steps? These low concrete steps are indeed, as the father-in-law partially suggested, related to equestrian transport. They are specifically identified as horse-mounting steps or mounting blocks. In the era before automobiles became the dominant mode of transportation, horses were a primary means of travel for individuals, not just for pulling carriages. Mounting blocks or purpose-built steps like these were a common feature in towns and cities, strategically placed along curbsides. Their function was to make it easier for riders, especially ladies in long skirts, children, elderly individuals, or those less agile, to mount and dismount their horses safely and gracefully. While it's true that many carriages had their own steps for passengers, these permanent curb steps specifically served riders of individual saddle horses. Their presence in an older, established neighborhood in upstate New York is highly consistent with this historical equestrian infrastructure, remnants of a time when horses were an integral part of daily street life. Discovered in a grandmother's dresser found near some regular batteries, this item is described as being approximately the length of a small finger. It appears to incorporate some kind of screwing piece and has an opening at its bottom end. Its diminutive size and apparent mechanical nature suggest it is a specialized tool designed for fine adjustments or delicate repair work. What is this small, precision tool? This small, finger-length tool, characterized by a screwing mechanism and an opening at one end, is identified as a watch link removal tool. It is a specialized instrument commonly used by watch owners, jewelers, or watch repair technicians to adjust the length of metal watch bracelets by removing or adding individual links to achieve a proper and comfortable fit. The tool typically features a small, hardened steel pin that is precisely advanced or retracted by turning a screw mechanism, the screwing piece. This pin is used to carefully push out the small friction pins, cotter pins, or spring bars that hold the segments of the watch bracelet together. The opening at the bottom or side of the tool is often designed to allow the pushed-out pin to exit freely or to help align the bracelet correctly during the link removal or insertion process. It's a very common and handy tool for anyone who needs to customize the fit of a metal watch band. An observer noticed a vent hose, approximately a couple of inches wide, inside the car next to them in traffic or a parking lot. Its presence and appearance were unusual enough to prompt curiosity. What could this flexible hose be, and what is its likely purpose inside a vehicle's cabin? This vent hose observed in the adjacent car is likely part of an aftermarket or accessory car air conditioning or heating system. More specifically, it could be connected to a small, portable 12-volt powered air conditioner or heater unit, or it might be a flexible ducting component from a more permanently installed auxiliary climate control system. The linked image in the original solution, which was labeled Airco, would probably have shown such a portable unit that uses flexible hoses to direct the conditioned, cooled, or heated air to a specific area within the vehicle's cabin. These types of add-on climate control solutions are sometimes used in older vehicles that were not originally equipped with factory air conditioning, in larger vehicles like camper vans or RVs to supplement the main system, or by individuals who want to provide targeted heating or cooling to a particular passenger, a pet carrier in the back seat, or a specific zone within the car that is not adequately served by the factory vents. These implements are described as very heavy, sturdy tongs, but their most distinctive feature is an intricate pattern engraved on their inside surfaces. This suggests they are not ordinary tongs for gripping, but rather a specialized cooking utensil designed for pressing or shaping food while imparting a pattern. What are these specialized patterned tongs or press used for in the culinary arts? This device is identified as a wafer iron, a traditional cooking utensil used for making very thin, crisp, and often decorative wafers, cookies, or flatbreads. It functions in a manner similar to a waffle iron. A small amount of thin batter is placed between the two patterned, hinged metal plates, the tongs. The plates are then closed tightly, and the iron is heated, historically over an open flame, a stovetop burner, or hot coals. The intricate pattern engraved on the inside surfaces of the plates is thereby imprinted onto both sides of the wafer as it bakes and becomes crisp. These irons are known for making various traditional delicacies, such as krumkake, a Norwegian rolled wafer cookie, pitzel, a traditional Italian waffle cookie, or goro, another Scandinavian patterned cookie. The resulting thin, patterned wafers are often rolled into cones or cylinders while still warm and pliable, or left flat. The heavy construction helps with even heat distribution and retention. This peculiar die was found in a bag of assorted random dice that was ordered by the finder. It is unusually large, about the size of a golf ball. Most strikingly, the numbers on its faces are seemingly random and do not adhere to the standard conventions of dice numbering, e.g., opposite sides typically summing to 7 on a d6. For example, the numbers on opposite sides of this die add up to a figure close to 300, ranging from 290 to 310, and the faces display a wide array of non-sequential numbers such as 4, 7, 11, 18, and progressing up to values like 298. What is this unusual, oversized die with its non-standard and expansive numbering scheme? This oversized die with an unconventional and extensive numbering system is specifically called a go-first dice, or sometimes a starting player dice or initiative dice. It is ingeniously designed to address and simplify the common pre-game ritual of fairly determining which player goes first in a multiplayer board game, card game, or tabletop role-playing game. Instead of each player rolling a standard die, like a 6-sided die, and potentially encountering ties, which would then necessitate time-consuming re-rolls to break the tie, this single large die is rolled once by each player, or in some systems, just once for the group. Due to its unique and wide distribution of distinct numbers, the likelihood of a tie occurring between players, if, for instance, the rule is that the highest roll goes first, is virtually eliminated. Alternatively, it can be used in systems where each player is assigned a unique number range based on the die's outcome. Its primary function is to streamline the process of selecting a starting player, ensuring a quick, fair, and unambiguous beginning to the game. Discovered at a flea market in Louisville, Kentucky, this intriguing item is a leather harness contraption. It prominently features metal chains and a component resembling a breastplate. Its overall size is roughly that of an adult male torso. The tag attached to it at the flea market even humorously queries, "What is this thing?" Given its materials, leather and metal, and its harness-like construction, it strongly appears to be some form of animal tack or equipment. What is its specific purpose? This leather harness with chains and a breastplate-like component is identified as a set of blinders, also commonly known as blinkers or, in some regions, winkers, designed for a horse, mule, or other similar draft or driving animal. Blinders are small, typically square or cupped pieces of stiff leather, or sometimes plastic, that are attached to a horse's bridle. They are precisely positioned to the side of each of the horse's eyes. Their primary purpose is to restrict the horse's field of vision, specifically preventing it from seeing distractions or movements occurring to its rear or far to its sides. This helps the animal to remain focused on the path directly ahead, reduces the likelihood of it being spooked or shying from activity behind it, such as the cart, carriage, or plow it is pulling, or sudden movements from other traffic, and generally makes it more manageable and responsive for the driver or handler, especially when working in busy urban environments, in a team with other horses, or when performing specific agricultural tasks. The chains and breastplate might be part of a more elaborate driving harness system to which these blinders were attached. A conspicuous metal rod is observed securely attached to the back of a Jeep. Its specific design, likely long, robust, and with a visible lifting mechanism, and its mounting location, strongly suggests it is a piece of specialized recovery or utility equipment commonly associated with off-road capable vehicles like Jeeps. What is this sturdy, externally mounted metal rod? This metal rod attached to the back of a Jeep is identified simply as "that's a jack." But more specifically, it is almost certainly a high-lift jack, or a very similar type of heavy-duty, mechanical farm jack or utility jack. These distinctive jacks are extremely popular and almost iconic among off-road driving enthusiasts, and those who use their vehicles in rugged, remote terrain. This is due to their remarkable versatility, simple yet robust construction, and their ability to lift a vehicle with high ground clearance significantly higher off the ground than a standard automotive scissor or bottle jack can achieve. High-lift jacks can be used for a multitude of demanding tasks in off-road recovery situations, lifting a stuck vehicle to place traction aids like sand ladders or rocks under the wheels, facilitating the changing of oversized off-road tires, and even with the use of appropriate accessories such as chains and straps for winching a vehicle short distances, clamping objects together, or spreading separated components. Their long steel handle provides the necessary leverage for manual operation in challenging field conditions. While an individual was out walking their dog in a regular residential neighborhood in a small town, a very loud sound, described as being like a gunshot, and close enough that the concussion could be felt in their chest, was suddenly heard. A few seconds after this startling bang, this small, hockey puck-shaped piece of metal, or ceramic-like material, rolled towards the observer. It was noted that construction and ground leveling work had been occurring in a nearby backyard, but no work seemed to be actively going on at that precise moment. What is this heavy, dense, puck-shaped object that appeared immediately after a loud explosive sound? This hockey puck-shaped object is identified as very likely being the internal core component of a lightning arrestor, specifically a carbide block, often silicon carbide, which is commonly found inside certain types of arrestors used on utility power poles to protect electrical distribution systems. Lightning arrestors are crucial safety devices designed to protect transformers and other electrical equipment from damage caused by overvoltage transients, typically resulting from a direct or nearby lightning strike. They function by diverting the excessive surge current safely to the ground. Some types of arrestors contain these robust carbide or dense ceramic blocks as part of their energy absorption and current limiting mechanism. If an arrestor fails catastrophically, which can happen during an extremely powerful surge due to internal degradation over time, or if a fault condition occurs, it can explode with a very loud bang, forcibly ejecting its internal components, such as this block. The description of it feeling ceramic-like, and the suggestion that it would make a great knife sharpener, as silicon carbide is an extremely hard, abrasive material, further supports this identification. This very small metal object, described as being the size of a small screw and estimated to be at least 10 years old, was discovered in an old box containing miscellaneous childhood belongings. However, it is acknowledged that it could potentially have belonged to the finder's parents, as many items became muddled together during a family move that occurred when the finder was younger. Its specific shape isn't fully detailed, but its diminutive size and metallic composition are the key identifying features provided. What could this tiny, aged metal piece be? This small metal piece is identified with a high degree of probability as being a component part from a common nail clipper. Nail clippers, especially older or simpler models, are composed of several small metal parts that are assembled to create the cutting and lever action. Over time, or if a nail clipper is broken or disassembled, perhaps out of childhood curiosity, these small components can become detached. The most likely candidate would be the small pivoting lever arm that provides the mechanical advantage for clipping the nails, or perhaps the tiny, often foldable nail file that is integrated into many clippers. given its very small size compared to a small screw, and its discovery amongst a collection of miscellaneous old personal items and childhood belongings, it's quite plausible that it's a dislodged part from a broken or forgotten nail clipper that found its way into the box many years ago. A distinctive feature is noted within a drawer of a bedside table, a peculiar oval-shaped inset. The purpose of this recessed, specifically shaped area within the drawer is not immediately obvious from its appearance alone. What could this specialized drawer feature have been originally designed to hold, protect, or organize? This oval inset, located within the drawer of a bedside table, almost certainly originally contained a custom-fitted, soft-lined insert, typically made of velvet, felt, or a similar plush fabric. Such fitted liners were a common and desirable feature in older or higher quality bedroom furniture, particularly in the top drawers of dressers, vanities, nightstands, or jewelry armoires. They were specifically designed to provide a soft, protective, and often compartmentalized or shaped space for storing delicate and valuable personal items such as jewelry, rings, earrings, necklaces, brooches, bracelets, watches, cufflinks, tie pins, or other small accessories. The shaped wooden inset within the drawer base would serve to hold this liner securely in place, preventing items from sliding around, getting scratched, becoming tangled, or being damaged when the drawer was opened or closed. Over many years of use, the original soft lining material could have deteriorated, become soiled, or simply been removed by a previous owner, leaving only the empty, recessed area as evidence of its former purpose. Observed on a residential property is this expansive field that has the distinct appearance of being used for some form of athletic training or sports practice. The finder is quite sure it's utilized for training purposes, but the specific numbers, lines, and figures marked on the field's surface do not immediately correspond to any particular commonly recognized sport like soccer, football, or baseball. What type of specialized training ground or repurposed athletic field could this be? This is identified as probably being an all-weather artificial turf field that was likely constructed using sections of material reclaimed from a former, larger, all-weather public or institutional athletic field. It is not uncommon for used artificial turf from decommissioned or renovated school sports facilities, municipal parks, or professional athletic stadiums, which might have originally been marked for sports like soccer, American football, field hockey, or lacrosse, to be sold or given away for repurposing. Individuals, private sports clubs, or smaller organizations sometimes acquire sections of this used turf to create private practice areas, backyard sports courts, or, as seems to be the case here, a customized training field on a residential property. The existing lines and markings on the repurposed turf might be remnants from its original use, or they could have been adapted, added to, or partially obscured to suit specific drills, training exercises for a niche sport, or agility training routines that don't conform to standard field layouts. The commenter even mentions knowing someone who ingeniously used old soccer field turf to surface their horse winter paddocks, highlighting the versatility and secondary market for used artificial turf. This intriguing wooden drawer unit features a mirror that is designed to slide out, an action which then exposes hidden compartments located underneath the mirror. The drawer itself is described as being approximately 8 inches by 15 inches in size. The item appears to be handmade, exhibiting telltale signs of individual craftsmanship rather than mass production. These signs include variations such as a somewhat messy or uneven stain job and the use of half-blind dovetail joints in its construction. The backside of the sliding mirror is simply black, as is typical for mirror backings. The finder humorously wonders if its purpose might have been a Coke tray, a tray for holding Coca-Cola or other beverages. What is the likely original purpose of this specialized drawer with its sliding mirror and concealed compartments? This feature, particularly the sliding mirror that reveals compartments or a flat, protected surface underneath, is highly reminiscent of a drink tray or a small, integrated vanity setup. Such features were often incorporated into older, more substantial pieces of bedroom furniture, specifically large oak or other hardwood headboards that came with attached side tables, nightstands, or shelving units. These were particularly popular in furniture designs from the mid to late 20th century, including styles prevalent in the 1990s and earlier. The sliding mirror could cleverly conceal a shallow tray area, perfectly suited for placing drinks, like a glass of water, a cup of tea, or indeed a Coke, without the risk of cold condensation leaving damaging rings on the main wooden surface of the nightstand or headboard shelf. The compartments located underneath this sliding tray might have been intended for storing small personal items conveniently within reach from the bed, such as medication, reading glasses, tissues, a remote control, or other bedside essentials. The Coke tray jest is, in fact, not far from its likely intended function as a convenient and protective surface for bedside refreshments. This small item was unexpectedly included as a freebie in an Etsy order that was primarily for a 3D printed keychain and some 3D printed magnets. It is described as being fairly small, featuring a ridged surface texture, and having been printed using both black and pink filament, indicating it's a 3D printed object itself. Its specific purpose or function is a complete mystery to the recipient. What could this small, 3D printed, ridged object be intended for? This small 3D printed object with ridges is identified as looking very much like a simple cell phone prop or stand. Many 3D printing enthusiasts and independent sellers on platforms like Etsy enjoy designing and printing small, practical, or novelty items like this. Such a stand would likely have a specifically designed slot, a stepped profile, or an angled surface into which a smartphone could be placed, either in a vertical, portrait, or horizontal, landscape orientation. This would allow the phone to be propped up conveniently for hands-free viewing of videos, participating in video calls, following a recipe in the kitchen, or simply for displaying the phone on a desk or nightstand. The ridges on its surface might be part of the aesthetic design, provide different angle options for propping the phone, or offer a more secure grip for the device. It's quite common for Etsy sellers, especially those dealing in 3D printed goods, to include a small, often self-made, complimentary bonus item like this, with orders as a thank you gesture or a way to showcase other items they can produce. A crystallized, amber-colored substance has been observed to have formed on a capped natural gas line within a condominium unit. This particular gas line, which was originally intended for a working fireplace, had been professionally capped off in the year 2017. The building itself is over 100 years old, but underwent a significant renovation in 2005. The cap on the gas line is approximately 1 inch in diameter. The finder is understandably concerned, wondering if this phenomenon is some form of crystallized rust, or if it indicates something more dangerous. They also note that the ambient humidity in their condo is not typically high enough to cause extensive rust formation. What is this unusual substance, and what is causing its formation on the gas cap? This crystallized, amber-colored substance forming on the gas line cap is a strong and concerning indication that the cap itself has become porous or is not sealing perfectly, and is therefore allowing a very slow leak of natural gas. The substance observed is likely a combination of several components: mercaptans, the sulfur-based odorants, that are deliberately added to natural gas, which is naturally odorless, to give it its distinctive and recognizable smell for safety and leak detection purposes, other trace impurities or condensates present in the natural gas supply, and possibly the products of very slow chemical reactions between these leaking gas components and the metal of the cap or the pipe over a prolonged period. It is definitely not crystallized rust in the conventional sense. The commenter in the original thread states unequivocally and with urgency, "That cap is porous. It's leaking through the metal. Replace it." This situation is potentially dangerous because even a very slow and seemingly minor gas leak can allow combustible gas to accumulate within a confined space, creating a significant fire or explosion hazard. The cap needs to be replaced immediately by a qualified and licensed gas fitter or plumber to ensure safety. A flat and somewhat oblong, yet also roundish, large rusted metal tank, equipped with a robust side handle, was discovered buried approximately a foot deep underground. This discovery was made about 30 feet out and away from the front of a house. The historical context of the location includes that the house was originally constructed as a hunting lodge in the year 1890, situated near Springfield, Missouri, and adjacent to a railroad line. The tank itself appears to be of 20th century origin, though its exact age is difficult to determine, and it is unclear if it is still attached to any piping or other subterranean structures. What is this large, buried metal tank likely to have been used for? This buried metal tank is identified as looking like a vintage fuel or oil storage tank, most probably used for storing heating oil or possibly kerosene for the lodge. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly for rural or semi-isolated dwellings like a hunting lodge built in 1890, access to municipal natural gas or electricity for heating was often unavailable. Consequently, many such buildings relied on oil-fired or kerosene-burning stoves, furnaces, or boilers for heating, and sometimes for cooking or lighting. The fuel for these appliances was commonly stored in substantial underground or basement-located tanks to ensure an adequate supply, especially through cold winters. The robust side handle might have been for maneuvering the tank during its initial installation, or if it was a type that was periodically refilled above ground before being reburied or placed in a cellar or outbuilding. The warning provided in the original solution is crucial. Old buried storage tanks can contain hazardous residual material, potentially explosive pressurized fumes, or may have leaked over time, causing significant soil and groundwater contamination. Such tanks should not be disturbed, opened, or removed without professional environmental assessment and specialized handling procedures. A school safety coordinator was presented with this small, yet fairly thick, metal pin by another teacher in the building. The pin's appearance reminds the safety coordinator somewhat of a fire extinguisher release pin, but it doesn't quite match any known examples. Crucially, the pin came with a warning label attached to it, and unfortunately, the building administrators have been unable to identify its specific origin or purpose within the school. The school in question is a high school. What could this important-looking, safety-related pin be? This pin is identified as looking very similar to a critical safety pin from an emergency fall rescue system, also known as a fall arrest system. Such comprehensive safety systems are mandated and used by personnel who are required to work at significant heights. For example, contractors or maintenance staff working on rooftops for tasks like HVAC repair, roof inspections, as mentioned, inspecting leaks, or other elevated work. These systems typically involve a full-body harness worn by the worker, a lanyard or self-retracting lifeline, SRL, and a secure anchoring device or anchor point. The pin in question could be a locking pin that secures a component of the anchor system, a release pin for a self-retracting lifeline mechanism, allowing it to be serviced or detached, or part of the connection mechanism between the harness and the lanyard. The presence of a warning label strongly underscores its safety-critical nature. The safety coordinator correctly plans to investigate if any roofing contractors or other personnel using such fall arrest systems were recently on site. It is vital to ensure that such a component isn't missing from an active life safety system within the building or on its equipment. Discovered tucked away under the passenger seat of a car, this round, Keyfob-Like electronic device's origin is a complete unknown. An LED light on the device illuminates when it is switched on. The central part of the device is not a button, but instead appears to be some form of speaker, microphone, or perhaps a radio wave emitter. The internal microchip is not labeled, offering no clues. A printed tag on the device reads EMR 1.03 2021-05-18, but this information yields no useful results in online searches. The finder is understandably a bit spooked and paranoid about what this mysterious electronic fob could be. What is its function? This round, Keyfob-like electronic device is identified as a rechargeable ultrasonic tick and flea repeller. These small, portable devices are designed and marketed to emit high-frequency ultrasonic sound waves. These sound waves are typically inaudible or barely perceptible to humans and most common domestic pets, like dogs and cats, but they are claimed by manufacturers to be irritating, disorienting, or repellent to parasites such as ticks and fleas. They are often promoted as a chemical-free, non-toxic alternative or supplement to traditional topical or oral flea and tick preventatives. These repellers are usually compact, lightweight, and battery-operated, often rechargeable via a USB connection, as the rechargeable in the solution implies. They are designed to be conveniently clipped onto a pet's collar, a person's backpack, clothing, or, as in this case, simply kept in a vehicle to provide a zone of supposed protection during outdoor activities or travel. The speaker, microphone, radio-looking center part would indeed be the ultrasonic emitter that generates the high-frequency sound. This old, rusty, solid steel object was discovered lying at the bottom of a hill in a wooded area. Its specific shape or form isn't fully detailed in the provided snippet, but its material, solid steel, rusty condition, and discovery location, woods, bottom of a hill, suggesting it was discarded or rolled there, hint at it being a piece of abandoned outdoor equipment. What could this be? This rusty steel object is identified as a component piece from old-school playground equipment. The commenter further clarifies it's upside down and it's missing the platform you stand on. This additional detail strongly suggests it might be the central support pole and upper rotating mechanism for a type of traditional spinning merry-go-round, often called a roundabout in some regions, or perhaps the fulcrum assembly from a heavy-duty metal teeter-totter, seesaw, or even a major structural element from an old metal climbing frame or jungle gym. Many older playgrounds, particularly those from the mid-20th century and earlier, featured extremely robust and heavy equipment constructed primarily from welded or bolted steel. When these playgrounds were eventually decommissioned due to age, changing safety standards, or redevelopment, the old equipment was sometimes simply dismantled and discarded in out-of-the-way locations like wooded areas, ravines, or down hills, rather than being properly recycled or disposed of, leading to such finds years later. Several of these distinctive 12-pin, low-voltage plugs were discovered in a house that was just purchased. Their specific appearance, with multiple pins, suggests they are not standard power plugs or common audio-video connectors. What are these specialized electrical connectors, and what type of system would they have been used for? This 12-pin plug is identified as a multi-line rotary phone connector, a type of connector used in older, more complex business telephone systems or sometimes in elaborate residential phone setups from the mid to late 20th century. These systems often involve features like multiple incoming phone lines, intercom capabilities between extensions, and proprietary telephone sets with illuminated buttons or special function keys. The 12 pins, or sometimes more, like 25-pin Amphenol connectors for larger systems, within the connector were necessary to carry the various electrical circuits required for these multiple phone lines, as well as signaling information for ringing, hold status, intercom calls, and often low-voltage DC power for features like the illuminated buttons or small displays on the telephone sets themselves. These connectors would interface the multi-line telephones with the premise wiring, which in turn connected to the phone system's central control unit, known as a key service unit, KSU, or a private branch exchange, PBX. A link to a collector's discussion forum, mentioned in the original solution, shows a similar connector, confirming its use in the realm of vintage telecommunications equipment. This item, measuring approximately 4 inches by 2 inches, is constructed from wood and features a velvet-covered surface. It bears the trademark realistic and is thought to probably date from the 1990s or early 2000s. Its materials and branding hint at an audio-related accessory. What is this cleaning tool specifically designed for? This item is definitively identified as a dust cleaner, specifically designed for cleaning vinyl records. The brand Realistic was a well-known house brand name used by the Tandy Corporation for their extensive line of consumer electronics, audio equipment, and accessories sold through their Radio Shack stores. This type of record cleaner typically consists of a handle, often made of wood or plastic, to which a cleaning pad is attached. This pad is covered with a very soft, lint-free material, commonly velvet or a similar plush fabric. Some more advanced versions also incorporate a central row of extremely fine carbon fiber bristles, which are designed to reach deeper into the record grooves and help dissipate static electricity. Before playing a vinyl record, the user would gently sweep this cleaner across the record's delicate surface, either while the record was stationary or slowly rotating on the turntable. This action effectively removes accumulated dust, fingerprints, static charges, and fine particulate matter from the grooves. Regular cleaning with such a device helps to improve sound quality during playback by reducing surface noise, clicks and pops, and also helps to prolong the life of both the stylus, needle, and the record itself by minimizing abrasive wear. A peculiar Petri dish, apparently filled with a substance resembling mayonnaise, was observed resting on a windowsill within one of the towers of the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, Spain. It was noted that there was one of these dishes in every window opening along the helical staircase. Each dish had a diameter of approximately 5 centimeters. Given the location, a historic and ornate cathedral, and the substance's appearance, what are these dishes and their contents for? This Petri dish containing a mayonnaise-like substance is identified as a form of bird repellent. Specifically, it is very likely a dish containing a specialized, non-toxic, and often transparent or translucent sticky gel or paste that is designed to deter birds, such as pigeons, sparrows, or starlings, from perching, roosting, or nesting on ledges, windowsills, cornices, statues, and other architectural features of buildings. Birds find the tacky, unstable, or visually distorting surface created by the gel to be unpleasant or unsettling to land on, and they will typically avoid treated areas. These types of bird repellent gels are frequently used on historic buildings, monuments, and public structures like the Sagrada Familia to prevent the aesthetic damage, mess, and potential structural harm caused by bird droppings and nesting activities without causing physical harm to the birds themselves or altering the appearance of the protected structure significantly. The mayo consistency is typical for these thixotropic gels. This small, gray, bump-like object was seen installed in a parking lot, specifically on one individual parking spot. It is secured with 2 screws, and an additional screw hole appears to be covered or unused. A logo resembling a car is visible on the device. What is this small, surface-mounted device found in a parking space? This small gray bump is identified as an individual parking sensor, likely the Proxima model, as indicated by the reference link in the original solution. These are typically surface-mounted ultrasonic or sometimes electromagnetic sensors that are integral components of modern parking guidance systems or individual space occupancy detection systems. Each sensor is installed in the center or at the edge of a parking space. Its function is to detect whether that particular space is occupied by a vehicle or is vacant. This real-time occupancy information is then relayed, often wirelessly, to a central management system. This system can then display the availability of parking spots on digital signs at the entrance to the parking facility or on different levels, or provide data to mobile apps, thereby helping drivers find empty parking spots more quickly and efficiently, reducing congestion and frustration. The small car logo on the device further reinforces its automotive-related function within a parking environment. Received as part of a goodie bag, this black, small, rubbery item bears a resemblance to something that might fit onto a pencil, but it is definitively not an eraser. It is described as being fairly light. The finder attempted to fit it onto an Apple Pencil, but it didn't seem to be the correct application for it. What is this pencil topper-like rubber piece actually intended for? This small, black, rubbery item that looks somewhat like a pencil topper is identified as a straw cap or a straw tip cover. These are small, flexible caps, usually made from food-grade silicone or a similar soft rubbery material, designed to fit snugly over the open end of a drinking straw. They are particularly popular for use with reusable straws, such as those made from stainless steel, glass, bamboo, or hard plastic. Straw caps serve multiple practical purposes. They help to keep the tip of the straw clean and hygienic when it's not in use, especially when carrying it in a bag or pocket. They can prevent minor spills if the straw is in a container that gets accidentally knocked over, and some people find them more comfortable to drink from, providing a softer mouthpiece compared to a bare metal or hard plastic straw end. Their small size and flexible, often colorful rubber material are characteristic features. This square, wood-paneled column is built into the roof beams of an 18th century hayloft, which forms the upper floor of stables constructed around 1790 in Edinburgh, Scotland. The column is not visible from the outside of the roof, which is covered in regular slate tiles. The current owner, who has lived on the ground floor since childhood in the 60s, has no idea what it is, nor does anyone within their living memory. What is the purpose of this internal, roof-level wooden column? The most plausible explanation for this wood-paneled column in the ceiling of an old hayloft is that it is a ventilation shaft or cupola. Haylofts, used for storing large quantities of hay, require good ventilation to prevent the hay from overheating, due to natural decomposition and moisture content, and potentially spontaneously combusting, which was a serious fire risk in old wooden barns. A ventilation shaft extending from the hayloft up through the roof structure, even if not prominently visible from the outside as a large cupola, would create a natural convection current, drawing warm, moist air out of the hayloft and allowing fresh air to circulate. The commenter suggests that opening the first floor windows and any door or opening to this air shaft would enhance this airflow, further supporting its role as a key part of the building's original passive ventilation system, designed to preserve the stored hay and maintain the structural integrity of the barn. Positioned above the door in a hotel lobby, this optical-looking camera-shaped device is a bit of a puzzle. It resembles a video camera zoom lens, but its orientation, pointed at the back of the lobby rather than at the bar, elevators, front desk, or main door, seems illogical for surveillance. It's black, appears expensive, and is mounted out of easy reach. What is this specialized lighting or projection fixture? This device is identified as a theatrical spotlight, specifically a type known as a LECO, a brand name that has become somewhat generic for ellipsoidal reflector spotlights, or ERS. LECOs are powerful lighting instruments commonly used in theaters, concert venues, and sometimes in architectural or event lighting. They are capable of producing a very bright, sharply focused beam of light, and critically, they can also project patterns, images, or text. This is achieved by inserting a metal stencil called a gobo, or a patterned glass slide into a slot in the spotlight. The hotel lobby likely uses this LECO to project a greeting message, e.g., "Welcome XYZ Corp meeting attendees," a company logo, a decorative pattern, or event-specific information onto a wall or surface at the back of the lobby, creating an impressive visual display for guests or conference attendees. Found stored alongside some dental retainer items, this object is a light gray plastic tube or stick. It features a rounded end on one side and is hollow on the other, with the hollow side revealing a piece of metal visible inside the tube. There were 3 of these identical sticks packaged together in a bag. Given its storage context with other dental-related items, could this be a specialized tool or component for dental use? This light gray plastic tube stick with an internal metal component strongly resembles the disposable tip for a dental saliva ejector or a low-volume suction tube. During many dental procedures, it is essential to remove saliva, water from dental instruments like drills or scalers, and small particles of debris from the patient's mouth to maintain a clear working field for the dentist and ensure patient comfort. Saliva ejectors, which provide gentle suction, are used for this purpose. The plastic tip, often designed with a soft, rounded end to avoid irritating the patient's oral tissues, attaches to a flexible suction tube that is connected to the dental unit's central vacuum system. The small metal wire sometimes embedded within the plastic shaft of these tips allows the tip to be slightly bent and then hold its shape, enabling the dental professional to position it optimally in the patient's mouth for effective fluid removal. Its discovery with other dental care items significantly reinforces this identification. This distinctive metal marker is found embedded within a sidewalk in Galveston, Texas. It is situated near a pedestrian crossing on the historic seawall. The marker prominently features the inscription U.S. and possibly depicts imagery of a fort and cannons. The finder is curious whether this is an official historical marker and, if so, what specific site or event it commemorates. This sidewalk-embedded metal marker is identified by a referenced historical site as being a corner marker for Fort Crockett on the seawall at 39th Street. Fort Crockett was a significant United States military coastal defense fortification that was established in Galveston in the late 19th century and further developed in the early 20th century. Its primary mission was to protect the strategically important Texas coast and the bustling port of Galveston from potential naval attack. These types of durable, permanent markers, often cast from bronze or other resilient metals, were commonly used by government agencies such as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or various survey departments. Their purpose was to precisely delineate the official boundaries of federal property, military reservations, harbor lines, or significant historical sites. The imagery of a fort and cannons would be entirely appropriate and historically consistent for such a marker related to a major coastal defense installation like Fort Crockett. A tiny, curled piece of white-coated metal was unfortunately found in a cat's vomit. The cat in question normally only exhibits a penchant for chewing on plastic items, making the ingestion of metal unusual. The concerned owner has, quite rightly, scheduled a vet appointment and is closely monitoring the cat, but is also hoping to identify the source of this small metal piece. What could this ingested item be? This tiny curled piece of white-coated metal could very well be the small metal clip or staple that is commonly used to secure the end of the casing of a cured meat product, such as bologna, salami, summer sausage, various types of cooked sausages, or similar processed deli meats. These meat products are often stuffed into artificial or sometimes natural casings during their manufacturing process. To seal the ends of the casing tightly and prevent the contents from spilling out during cooking, curing, smoking, and storage, small metal clips or staples, frequently made of aluminum which can be coated white or silver, are crimped firmly around the twisted ends of the casing. If the cat had access to such a meat product, its packaging, or even discarded remnants of the casing, perhaps from a kitchen bin, it might have playfully chewed on or accidentally ingested this small metal clip. This large metallic cylindrical structure, featuring a sharp point, is mounted on a cement platform. The finder notes that its current location probably isn't its original operational site, as it looks like it has been relocated and possibly mounted for display or a different, non-functional purpose. Its robust, industrial appearance suggests a connection to heavy machinery or infrastructure. The question is posed, are there any dams nearby, hinting at a possible hydroelectric origin? This large metallic cylindrical object with a sharp point strongly resembles a component from a hydroelectric power installation. Specifically, it could be a part of a turbine runner, like a Kaplan or Pelton wheel blade or nozzle, or a guide vane. Hydroelectric turbines are complex machines with precisely engineered parts designed to convert the energy of flowing water into rotational motion. These components are often made from very strong, corrosion-resistant metals and can have streamlined, pointed, or curved shapes to efficiently interact with water flow. The fact it's mounted on a cement platform suggests it might be a decommissioned piece put on display, perhaps at a visitor center for a dam or as an industrial sculpture. Its size and heavy-duty construction are consistent with the forces and conditions experienced within a hydroelectric generating unit. The proximity to a dam would further support this identification. Installed on a bedroom wall in a new house in the UK, this white box features two red buttons. An initial suggestion was a carbon monoxide monitor, but the house has no gas supply, and the box lacks any apparent intakes for gas detection. This points to a different function, likely related to communication or alert systems. What is this dual-button wall-mounted device? This white box, with two red buttons, is identified as a medical assistance button or a panic alarm, specifically an Eaton HUD 2B FXD model or similar. These devices are designed to allow individuals, particularly the elderly, those with medical conditions, or anyone feeling vulnerable, to quickly and easily summon help in an emergency. Pressing one or both of the prominent red buttons would typically trigger an alarm, which could be a local audible alarm within the house, or more commonly, it would send a signal to a monitoring service, a designated caregiver, or emergency services. The two-button design might be to prevent accidental activation or could offer different alert types. Their placement in a bedroom is common, providing easy access if assistance is needed during the night or in a private space. Found in a mom's kitchen, this item is described as being about 13 inches in diameter and feels like ceramic. It bears the brand name Pampered Chef on the back. Given its material, size, and branding by a well-known kitchenware company, what is this specific piece of cookware? This 13-inch ceramic disc from Pampered Chef is unequivocally a pizza stone. Pampered Chef is a popular direct sales company that offers a wide range of kitchen tools, cookware, and bakeware, and their pizza stones are one of their well-known products. Pizza stones are typically made from ceramic, cordierite, or a similar porous, heat-retentive material. They are designed to be preheated in a hot oven. When a pizza is placed directly onto the hot stone, the stone absorbs excess moisture from the dough and distributes heat evenly, resulting in a much crispier crust than can typically be achieved by baking on a standard metal baking sheet. They are also great for baking bread, cookies, or other items where a crisp bottom is desired. Found in a hospital, this blue, rigid, hard plastic stick features a rough tip. Someone suggested it was a swab, but its hardness makes this seem unlikely and impractical for swabbing. It was found just sitting around on a table in a plastic sleeve and had no markings. What is this specialized medical instrument? This blue, rigid plastic stick with a rough tip is identified as an AIRQ-1004 cook gas air Q removal stylet. This is a specialized medical device used in anesthesiology and airway management. It is specifically designed as an aid for intubation when using a laryngeal mask airway, LMA, such as the cook gas air Q. An LMA is a supraglottic airway device that provides an airway seal over the larynx. Sometimes, it's necessary to pass an endotracheal tube, a breathing tube, through the LMA into the trachea. This stylet, with its specific shape and potentially rough or textured tip for better grip or guidance, assists in facilitating the smooth passage of the endotracheal tube through the LMA and into the patient's airway. It's a tool used by trained medical professionals during advanced airway procedures. In a newly acquired home, a single wire is found connected to a mysterious coax-looking connection. The previous owner had a speaker system installed. The new homeowner is wondering what this connection is and if it's worth keeping for a future sound system. What type of audio connector is this likely to be? This connection is identified as likely being a speaker jack, with the commenter noting it looks like one wire has broken off inside the wall. While RCA jack is mentioned as a common colloquial term, true RCA jacks are typically used for line-level audio signals, like connecting a CD player to an amplifier, or composite video, not usually for direct speaker connections carrying amplified signals, although some older or less common systems might have used them. More likely for a speaker connection would be a binding post, a spring clip terminal, or perhaps a banana plug receptacle if it's a wall plate. If it's a single coax-looking connection for a speaker, it could be an F connector repurposed, uncommon for speakers, or a specific type of single-pole speaker connector. The key takeaway is it's related to the old speaker system, and its utility depends on its exact type and whether the broken wire can be repaired. A friend of the finder discovered this object deep in the woods. It is described as being pretty heavy and about the size of an average hand. Multiple angles were photographed to aid identification. What is this heavy, mechanical-looking item? Likely a remnant of some machinery or a large toy. This heavy, hand-sized object is identified by a model railroad enthusiast as what is left of a Lionel Electric Train's pre-war standard gauge motor. Lionel is a renowned American toy train manufacturer, and their pre-World War II, standard gauge trains were significantly larger and more robustly built than the more common O-gauge or HO gauge trains. The motors in these standard gauge locomotives were substantial, heavy-duty electric motors, often with cast metal frames, designed to pull long trains of correspondingly large metal cars. Finding just the motor unit in the woods suggests the rest of the locomotive body, likely made of pressed steel or die-cast metal, may have corroded away or been otherwise destroyed over many decades of exposure to the elements, leaving only the more resilient motor assembly. Found on the floor of a restaurant bathroom, positioned under the hand dryer, this object is described as being very soft and a bit heavy. Its placement seems odd for a purely decorative item. What could this be? This soft, yet somewhat heavy object is identified as a doorstop, complete with an integrated handle. Doorstops are used to hold doors open, preventing them from swinging shut. In a commercial setting like a restaurant bathroom, a doorstop might be used by cleaning staff to keep the door propped open while they are cleaning the restroom, allowing for easier movement of cleaning carts and better ventilation. The soft quality might refer to a rubber or fabric covering over a weighted core, designed to prevent damage to the door or wall and to provide enough heft to hold the door effectively. The handle would make it easy to pick up and reposition. Its location under the dryer might simply be where it was last placed or kicked aside. This brass shell features odd pawn-like parts. The commenter suggests that the pawns are not in their originally intended positions or alignment. They theorize that the flat sides of these parts should face inwards and be opposite each other, creating a box-like shape designed to hold something else, such as a lighter, matches, or pipe smoking tools. What is this configurable brass container? This brass item, with its reconfigurable pawn-like internal components, is indeed suggested to be a versatile case or etui, designed to hold various smokers' accessories. The idea is that the internal dividers, the pawns, could be arranged in different ways to create compartments of suitable sizes for carrying items like a Zippo-style lighter, a small box of matches, pipe cleaners, a pipe tamper, or other small tools associated with pipe smoking or general tobacco use. Brass was a common material for such personal accessories in the past due to its durability and aesthetic appeal. The configurable nature would have made it a practical and adaptable case for a gentleman's smoking requisites. Bought from an auction, these small metal lever-like arms are a mystery. Attempts to find information from any part number or to identify a manufacturer from the info on the box have been unsuccessful. The finder speculates they might be little relay arms or something for manufacturing. What are these small mechanical levers? These small metal arms are identified as looking like throttle levers, specifically the type used on small engines, such as those found on lawnmowers, go-karts, log splitters, tillers, or other small gasoline-powered equipment. A throttle lever allows the operator to control the speed of the engine by adjusting the amount of fuel and air entering the carburetor. These levers are typically connected via a cable or linkage to the carburetor's throttle plate. Their simple, robust metal construction and lever shape are characteristic of such control components for small internal combustion engines. The box likely contained multiple spare parts for such equipment. Found in a box belonging to a deceased elderly woman, these are described as decorative glass vials. Their specific appearance isn't detailed, but their context suggests they are personal items. What are these small, likely ornate glass containers? These decorative glass vials are identified as perfume bottles, and fancy ones at that, representing a nice find. Throughout history, perfume has been housed in a vast array of beautifully designed and often ornate bottles, reflecting the value and luxury associated with fragrances. Elderly women in particular might have collected or been gifted such bottles over many decades. These bottles can be made from cut glass, crystal, colored glass, or feature elaborate stoppers, metal overlays, or hand-painted decorations. Even empty, vintage, and antique perfume bottles are highly collectible items, valued for their craftsmanship, design, and historical connection to perfumery and fashion. A white, circle-with-legs-looking thing, about the size of a fingernail, has been found in a kitchen sink on 3 separate occasions over the past 3 weeks. Only one is found at a time. The finder is creeped out by it and unwilling to touch it. What is this recurring tiny object? The mystery was solved when the finder's husband discovered that this small, white, circle-with-legs object is actually a tiny component part from a fake or artificial baby's breath plant that they had next to the sink. Artificial flowers, especially those mimicking delicate sprays like baby's breath, gypsophila, are often constructed from many tiny molded plastic or silk florets attached to wire stems. Over time, or if the plant is disturbed or cleaned, these tiny individual florets or parts of them can become detached and fall off. The circle would be the main part of the tiny flower, and the legs would be the remnants of the tiny petals, or the point where it attached to the stem. This metal hook-like object was found bolted to a cliff face by the ocean in Sydney, Australia. What is this coastal safety hardware? This metal object is identified as the mount for an angel ring, which is a term often used for a publicly accessible lifebuoy or life ring. These life-saving devices are strategically placed along coastlines, piers, harbors, and riverbanks, allowing members of the public to quickly throw them to someone in distress in the water. The metal mount is bolted securely to a cliff face, wall, or post, and is designed to hold the lifebuoy so it is readily visible and easily deployable in an emergency. The commenter notes that on this particular found mount, the bottom part has been bent upwards. It should normally be a flat plate, perpendicular to the ground, to properly support the ring. This thick glass cup features a handle, but unusually has no bottom. What is this bottomless glass utensil used for in the kitchen, likely related to preserving or transferring substances? This bottomless thick glass cup with a handle is identified as a mason jar filler or a canning funnel. It's a specialized type of funnel specifically designed for transferring jams, jellies, preserves, sauces, pickles, or other food items into wide-mouth canning jars, like mason jars, during home canning and preserving. The wide top opening allows for easy pouring of hot or bulky foods, while the wide, short spout at the bottom is sized to fit snugly into the mouth of a standard canning jar, minimizing spills and keeping the jar rim clean, which is essential for achieving a proper seal. The handle provides a secure grip, especially when dealing with hot substances. Along a trail in a rural area, there are a bunch of these little posts with locks on them. What is the purpose of these secured, ground-level access points? These little posts with locks on them are identified as possibly being sampling wells, also known as monitoring wells. These are small diameter wells drilled into the ground to access groundwater. They are used for a variety of environmental monitoring purposes, such as checking groundwater levels, collecting water samples for chemical analysis to detect contamination from landfills, industrial sites, agricultural runoff, or leaking underground storage tanks, or monitoring the effectiveness of groundwater remediation efforts. The lockable cap provides security, preventing unauthorized access, tampering, or accidental contamination of the well. Their presence along a trail in a rural area might indicate ongoing environmental studies or monitoring of a nearby sensitive area or potential pollution source. This foil rectangle was found inside the drawer located under an electric oven. It was discovered when the drawer wasn't closing properly, as it was hanging out sideways in one of the tracks, having apparently fallen in there. One side of the foil, shown in the first pick, is sticky on its wings, like an adhesive. The finder wonders if it was originally adhered to the underside of the oven and fell off. What is this foil piece? This foil rectangle with adhesive wings is identified as an insulation panel that was originally stuck to the bottom of the oven, above the storage drawer. The drawer beneath an oven is often used for storing pots, pans, and baking sheets. This insulation panel, typically made of heat. Reflective foil backed with an insulating material serves two main purposes. Firstly, it helps to prevent the items stored in the drawer from getting excessively hot when the oven is in use. And secondly, it contributes to the oven's overall energy efficiency by reducing heat loss downwards. Over time, due to heat cycles and the degradation of the adhesive, these insulation panels can sometimes become detached and fall into the drawer below. This solid wood cylinder, 16 inches long and weighing roughly 2 pounds, features a cog-like or shaped end. It was left at a work desk by a coworker who recently passed away. This coworker had a background in historical reenactment, specifically of the French and Indian War period, and also had a keen interest in ships from the 1800s. What is this wooden maritime-related artifact? Considering the wear on it and the owner's historical interests, the solid wood cylinder with a shaped end is identified as a belaying pin, a crucial piece of rigging hardware used on traditional sailing ships. Belaying pins are stout wooden or metal rods, typically with a cylindrical shaft and a distinctively shaped head or cog end that prevents them from slipping through their mounting holes. They are inserted into holes in a pin rail, also called a fife rail, which is usually located at the base of masts or along the bulwarks of the ship. Sailors would belay the ropes, lines, that control the sails and yards around these pins to secure them, allowing for quick adjustment and release of the rigging. The wear observed would be consistent with the friction of ropes being repeatedly wound and unwound. A solid, heavy, white, now stained brown, rubbery object was found floating in a closed coffee travel mug. It has no text or markings and is approximately the size of a Post-it note. The finder isn't sure when it got in there, but had iced coffee in the mug with ice from their home refrigerator. What is this strange, resilient object that ended up in a coffee mug? This white, rubbery object is identified as a silicone bracket or component from a refrigerator ice maker mechanism. Many automatic ice makers inside refrigerators have various silicone or rubber parts, such as seals, baffles, guides for the ice, or flexible components in the ice ejection system. It's possible for one of these small silicone pieces to become dislodged from the ice maker assembly due to wear, ice buildup, or during a harvest cycle. If dislodged, it could then fall into the ice storage bin along with the ice cubes. Subsequently, when ice was taken from the bin and added to the travel mug, this stray silicone part was inadvertently transferred along with it, only to be discovered later when the ice melted. This device, weighing about 2 or 3 pounds and made entirely of metal, was found in an attic. A can is used for size comparison. It has a handle that turns freely. Looking at it from the bottom, a core with copper wire wound around it is visible, and there are places to connect wires on the back. It does not seem to be magnetic, but the finder feels it should be. It's guessed to be at least 60 to 80 years old. Is this a type of electrical generator? This hand-cranked metal device is identified as an old telephone magneto. A magneto is a type of electrical generator that uses permanent magnets, or electromagnets that retain residual magnetism, to produce alternating current when its armature, the copper wire wound core, is rotated. In early manual telephone systems, these hand-cranked magnetos were built into the telephone sets. When a user wanted to make a call, they would turn the crank rapidly. This generated an electrical current that would travel down the line to the central telephone exchange, operator, or directly to another phone on a party line, ringing a bell to signal an incoming call or to get the operator's attention. The visible copper coil and connection points are characteristic of these devices. This little piece of red fabric is found inside the fabric layers of a 1950s robe. It's made of sheer nylon and is located just above one of the front buttons. What is this small, seemingly out-of-place piece of material? This small piece of red, sheer nylon fabric found within the layers of a vintage 1950s robe is most likely just a stray piece of material that was accidentally trapped between the fabric layers during the garment's manufacturing process. In garment factories, especially in earlier eras with less automated quality control, it was not uncommon for small scraps of fabric, thread ends, or bits of interfacing from other garments being produced nearby to inadvertently get caught within seams or between layers of fabric before being sewn shut. The red nylon might have been from another item being cut or sewn on an adjacent workstation and simply drifted or was misplaced onto the robe's fabric before a seam was closed, effectively sealing it inside. It has no functional purpose for the robe itself. Found on a driveway, this rusted metal object measures about 1 3 inches and is slightly magnetic. The finder is hoping it's not a fallen part from their car. What could this small, rusted, slightly magnetic component be? Reassuringly, this is identified as likely not being from a car's essential systems. Instead, it's described as a small electric motor, probably from some sort of power tool, a battery-powered toy, like a remote-controlled car, a small household appliance, or a hobbyist project. Small DC electric motors of this size are ubiquitous in many consumer products. Over time, if a toy is broken and discarded, or an old appliance is thrown out, these motors can end up in driveways or yards. The rust indicates it has been exposed to the elements, and the slight magnetism is characteristic of the permanent magnets or electromagnet components within the motor's stator or rotor. After the snow melted, this covered hole or tank was discovered in the yard of a new house. It wasn't locked or secured in any particular way. What is this ground-level access point? This covered hole or tank is identified simply as "it's your well." Many homes, especially in rural or semi-rural areas not served by municipal water systems, rely on private wells for their water supply. The wellhead is the top of the well casing that protrudes slightly above the ground. It is typically covered with a secure, weather-resistant well cap or cover to prevent surface water, debris, insects, or small animals from entering and contaminating the well water. This cover also provides access for well maintenance, pump servicing, or water testing. Its discovery after snowmelt suggests it might have been obscured during the winter. This black device, featuring little bars or tubes coming out, was seen at a graduation ceremony. What is this celebratory apparatus? These devices are identified as confetti cannons. Confetti cannons are used at celebrations, parties, concerts, sporting events, and ceremonies like graduations to create a dramatic and festive effect by launching a large amount of confetti or streamers into the air. They typically consist of one or more tubes, the little bars coming out, preloaded with confetti. The launch mechanism can be powered by compressed air, CO2 cartridges, or sometimes a small pyrotechnic charge. When activated, they propel the confetti high into the air, showering the area and creating a memorable visual spectacle. Their presence at a graduation is very common for enhancing the celebratory atmosphere at the moment of conferring degrees or at the end of the ceremony. A bubble-mounted camera is seen on the top of a pickup truck. The finder suspects it might be some type of 3D camera or LiDAR sensor. What is this vehicle-mounted optical device? This device is identified as a PTZ, pan-tilt-zoom camera, housed inside a protective dome. PTZ cameras are remotely controllable, allowing an operator to pan the camera horizontally, tilt it vertically, and zoom the lens in or out to focus on specific subjects or areas. They are commonly used in surveillance, security, broadcast, and video conferencing. The dome enclosure protects the camera mechanism from weather and potential tampering. The bubble or dome mount itself, in this vehicle-mounted context, also appears to incorporate some kind of vibration damper or stabilized mount. This is crucial for obtaining clear, stable video footage if the camera is intended to be used while the truck is in motion, by minimizing the effects of road vibrations and vehicle movement. Found in a box of childhood things from the 1990s, this item consists of an over-the-door hook with a rope and 10 small hooks attached along the rope. The finder remembers it being in their room as a child, but can't recall its exact use. The family, based in the US, had lived in Switzerland for a year, 1989 to 1990, raising the possibility it was acquired abroad. The small hooks are too small for standard clothes hangers, and they are not fixed in place on the rope, except for a knot at the bottom. What was this hanging organizer used for? This over-the-door hook with a rope and multiple small hooks is identified as an organizer specifically used for hanging and displaying stuffed toys. The commenter recalls having the same item when their children were young. The small hooks are perfectly suited for looping around a stuffed animal's limb, ear, or an existing tag. The rope, hung from the over-the-door hook, allows for a vertical display, saving space and keeping a collection of plush toys tidy and off the floor or bed. The fact the hooks are not fixed allows for some adjustability in spacing the toys. These were a popular and practical storage solution for children's rooms, especially for those with many beloved stuffed animals. If you love uncovering strange and mysterious objects, hit that like button and subscribe. Stay curious. More finds coming soon.